Hello, we're back with Discover Energy Work. So it's another week. What can I say? We have Kacy Barron here. That's the important thing to say. Kacy is. I met her on one of these Facebook groups, and I was just immediately attracted to her energy. And she's a psychic medium and a medium, and I've done a little reading with her, and I thought that was really nice. And she also does coaching and manifestation coaching, which is really interesting. And you know what it's about? You know, Discover Energy Work is about normal people who kind of like become a little bit not normal. And I say Kacy is like really pretty normal as well. So I think I would say I would say you're fairly normal, Kacy, from our previous conversation. So welcome to Discover Energy Work.
Thank you. Thanks for having me, Richard. It's awesome to talk to you. Awesome to be here.
So what would I like? I mean, my question is for everybody, what would make somebody who's doing a fairly stable job, suddenly give it up or give it all up and do something which, well, in America could get you burnt at the stake in years past, you know?
Yeah.
So, and in fact, I should say in the UK,
yes, it happened everywhere.
We did it really well. If witches, if someone was a witch, you threw them in the river. If they sank, they weren't a witch. Yeah,
then it's too late to save them.
Yeah, well, we're not even talking about witchcraft. We're just talking about energy work, which is where people go, wait, what's going on? I don't really know what that is. So what, were you like a kid? Were you like that weird kid, or were you just a normal kid?
I was pretty normal. I couldn't say that I had a lot of experiences as a kid, except moments where I was connected. And I remember those moments now. You know, looking back, they were very profound, like moments I'd be looking out the car window and I'd be like, I'm here right now in this car. What are the chances? Like my soul remembered the greater beyond, but my human was just like, oh, this is an interesting feeling. This just feels joyful. And one day I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, do you ever get moments where you're just like really joyful? And like, it's for no reason. You're just like, I'm really here, like in the present moment. Like, and as a kid, you're trying to explain this. And I was probably 8 at the time. And he goes, I don't really know. Like, no, I can't really say that I have had that. And then after that, it was really hard for me to do it ever again. And it was really sad because it was like a very joyful feeling, tapping into divine consciousness. So I do think children innately know how to get there. And then as adults, it's like we forget. But it was kind of like, that was kind of the ending point for me as a kid, having any beautiful experiences. But then as an adult, I was drawn to things like Eckhart Tolle. I was drawn to Wayne Dyer. I was drawn to all these authors talking about Neil Donald Walsh was one of the first books I ever read, Conversations with God. So I was really drawn to those things. I did grow up Catholic. So can't say that I was growing up in a huge like spiritual energy aware home, but there were a lot of things in our faith that align with what I do today in some ways, and a lot of things that don't align.
Totally.
I'm
definitely like here, like from my point of view, I'm so not religion bashing. I am like, religion has got so much to offer so many people, and a lot of churches, they'll embrace somebody with your skills and interests.
There are certain churches,
yeah, totally. And you know what I think is really interesting, something you've touched on, and I think a lot of people would relate to it, is you talk about something like, I've got this feeling, you explain it to somebody and they go no, and it's almost like they put a magic spell on it. Or just by like you expressing it and wanting to sort of confirm what is normal. I want to confirm like my reality is not weird and not strange, and then not getting the confirmation, like saying, okay, it's kind of not normal. We don't really do that. And that shutting us down on I would say like a subconscious level. You just kind of go, okay, we're not going to do that anymore.
Because I wanted to get back there. So consciously, right? I wanted to get to that place again, and I would try the next car ride. For some reason, I was always in the car. And so I would try and I couldn't do it. And it was just really sad. And, but now I realize, like, now today somebody could be like, yeah, I don't believe in anything you say, Kacy, and I could still do it tomorrow. So it's kind of like I somehow unleashed that subconscious block along my journey, but there's still a lot of adults living with that subconscious block for sure. And then they stop attempting to get back or find a new mentor, to find people who can resonate with their stories or their experiences.
Right.
And
right.
that is a lot of people, because a lot of children are naturally able to tap in and, because they're not very, they haven't been human for so long as us as adults, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. Sometimes I don't know where to start with you because we're just going, which is good. I mean, I don't mind, but we're going everywhere. Like, that whole thing about language, the whole thing about like when people connecting with us, what, and they're having experiences and they may be trying to share them. I mean, I have that experience of like trying to share something really beautiful with somebody, and in a way, like I'm trying to force it on them in a way. And
like showing your pearls before swine. Yeah.
It locked me down. It just totally totally stuffed me up for years, in fact. But my intention was like, I'm going to share this and it's going to help somebody. And actually, like, it just like, whoa, I was just like, oh, wow. And I suppose that, yeah, I mean, it's just energy, isn't it? I mean, like, there's lots of different energy. And I think a couple of weeks ago, we had Stanley Krippner, and he talks about whether we have I think he said thin boundaries or thick boundaries. And the people with thin boundaries, we tend to be more psychic. We tend to, like, I mean, literally, I'll be sitting in a cafe, and if someone sits behind me with a bad bag, I need to move because it's just really uncomfortable. I'm feeling that's not going to be good for me, and I'm going to have pain in my back later. Yeah, I mean, that's a typical example of this.
Has happened to me as well, so I can relate. I have so many stories like that.
Right. Yeah. Well, where do you start? Like, because I get this kid that's in the moment and just happy and, just with the grace. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of lost it. So then you started to look for it in self-help books. Is that right?
Yeah. So I just wanted to understand. I wanted to understand. And that's still my personality is very much like, let's investigate, let's research everything I can find. I want confirmation, or I want to learn. And so I did that for a while. Then I went to college, and, in college, it was an interesting period of time. I was, kind of stepped away from my spiritual interests a lot. I just was focused on things that a lot of college kids focused on. So dating and school and living with your friends and partying sometimes. And so I was in that world for a while. I can't say I was very enlightened during that time, but I formed great friendships and had great experiences, positive and negative experiences during that time. And then I got my master's degree. I went to school for speech language pathology. So I did end up getting my master's degree because you have to have that in the United States to practice. So
right. So this was it logopedy?
What was it?
Is it logopedy? Is that what it's called? The speech and language speech therapist.
So we're called in the US just speech language pathologists. So it's, I see what you're saying. Yeah, it's we don't go by that, but we just go by our acronym is SLP. In the UK, they have different different acronyms and everything like that.
Yeah, I'm I've met a lot.
Oh yeah. So it's different acronyms everywhere, but we're speech therapists is the easiest way to understand what I was doing. And so I did, and I was like so focused on school, so focused on my straight A's, my research. I was doing research, doing a thesis, doing all these things. And I loved it. I loved school. Graduated out of school, and I was like, what did I get into? I was like, this world is crazy. Healthcare in the United States obviously it's going through a lot. I worked in a nursing home. So I And then I ended up being promoted, and it was just it was just so stressful. I was stressed out working, but I had all these student loans. So I was like, I need to work and pay off these loans. I need to, this will get better. It'll keep getting better. I know it'll get better.
Right.
This is what I told myself. And so
it's like a lot of money. Like it's sort of $500,000 or something, like $250,000 or something, isn't that?
Yeah,
it's
I
like
had $80,000 in student
80,
loans.
oh my God.
USD. Yeah, just give people an idea. So I did end up paying it all off in 16 months. Actually, I worked 3 jobs. I worked in the schools with kids. I worked in private practice, and I worked in nursing homes for the elderly. And between those 3 jobs and saving and just really a strict budgeting, I did pay it all off. So then you get to
You're
the point,
amazing.
Right?
You're really determined person. I'm
very determined
like,
person.
whoa, you're not a Taurus, are you? Wouldn't surprise me.
No, I'm a Scorpio, which pretty much explains.
They're amazing. Oh yeah, because I'm a Cancerian, and Scorpios are like interesting. They're sort of Cancerians with tails. So we're here.
Yeah, exactly. Me and Cancers get along. Yeah, we get along very well. And so, anyways, my puppies are getting yelled at. If you can hear them.
No worries.
So then I am, in working, paid off all my debt. I'm so proud of myself for doing that in such a short period of time. It was not easy. And I'm like, I can do whatever I want now. Like I can let go of this idea of the perfect life of a 9-to-5 working in healthcare, making good money. And I can kind of do what I want to do. So I did a lot of soul searching. I ended up doing it in my own business. But I first started off in healthcare, and then I was doing healthcare work, helping other speech therapists start their own businesses. And then I was in that, and I was like, man, at the time, how I got into my own business was really relying on and learning more about energy, because I realized business and energy are so, what's the word? Like I would go through periods of like almost doubt and depression and self-defeat, right? And like self-sabotage with my business. And I was like, I feel like energy is the thing that's going to help me keep my forward momentum, keep me going without being miserable, because now I can create the life I want. I don't want to be like I was working my 9-to-5 and create that over again. So I started meeting mentors and energy workers, and I just loved it. I loved the work. I loved learning. Again, that was that high schooler side. I'm
gonna stop you. Like give us an example of something that happened when you're got to this energy worker, and suddenly like he said something or you did something, you went, oh wow, this is totally like.
Yeah, I can give you exactly the example. Yeah, so I went to a workshop, and it was a weekend, and I got out of it, and my husband was like rubbing my shoulders the next morning after the workshop. We had done it together. He was giving me a massage, and I was like, are you pressing hard enough? Because I don't feel anything. And he's like, okay, I can go a little harder. I always have pain in my shoulders, neck, and back. I was stressed out all the time. So of course I always hold tension there. So I was like, there's no pain. I was literally healed from the tension in my back over the weekend from the energy work. And I was sitting in a very uncomfortable chair the whole weekend. So it wasn't my posture, wasn't anything like that. It wasn't stretching or exercise. There was no painkillers. It was just the energy. And that was the first moment I said, there's something to this. This is a miracle. So that's really when it really clicked.
Yeah. And so I like it. I like it because it's, in a way, it's a small story, but it's so meaningful, especially if you're in healthcare, you know, this is like, this is not normal. Yeah. And you've got your own anecdotal experience of sitting in an uncomfortable chair, like sitting in an airline chair for 9 hours and getting off with a stiff neck, of course. And in a way, you've done more than that, like a weekend, and you get off and like, I don't have pain in my shoulders. Yeah, totally amazing.
Like I was like, this is never happened. It always hurts when somebody touches me in my shoulders. And so I did tell the teacher that, and he was like, yep, that's, healing. And I was just like, that is amazing. And so it was nice to have that confirmation. And all this to say, I continued hiring people, working with people, and got to the point where I opened up to my mediumship gifts, opened up to my own guides, opened up to my own spiritual, like the clairvoyance and the psychic gifts. And I was doing this, and I was still working in healthcare at the time too. So I was still able to do healthcare part-time, working with kids mainly. And I'll never forget.
What made you think, like, I mean, again, like you've got a science degree, in healthcare. What made you think like guides and spirit guides and that sort of stuff was real? I mean, just didn't you think like, oh, wait a minute, I'm kind of like, I'm running away on some, leaderless cult of energy work,
Yeah, I guess.
Was there something that happened?
For me, it was just, I knew that I wanted to do my own business. And when I started incorporating my spiritual side into my business, that's when it took off. It was almost like God saying, yes, this is it. Because I was trying to do something for so long, and it just I would hit a wall, and I wasn't enjoying it. And I was trying to make it more fun for me and more successful, making more money. It wasn't until I tapped into my own gifts and started talking about them online to my clients and to other people, and talking about it in public, that people were like, oh, I want to know more, and would buy more of my services. So it was kind of like the more I stepped out and became authentically who I was and what I was learning, the more success I had. And so I was just kind of reinforced by that. And then how happy I was to do it and how exciting it was for me was also a big piece of it.
Right. And so can you, like you were telling me, like once you started to get into your mediumship, you started having some interesting like evidence come through.
Yeah. So in therapy, I would be working, and I remember I was walking a family back to my treatment room, and the parent had the older kid there, and she's like, oh yeah, he's home from school. He has strep throat. And I was like, well, that's why my throat was hurting. And I don't say it out loud, but like my throat had started hurting so bad as soon as they walk in the door. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So that was kind of like a moment for me. I'd always worked with kids who had pretty significant challenges with speech. And so a lot of kids with autism, for example, they can't talk. So I would find them technology to communicate. And I would have I basically discovered, with some kids, I could use telepathy gifts with them and communicate with them energetically.
Oh, wow. Tell us about that. That's amazing. What? Yeah. Give us an example. I mean,
yeah. So kids who have no speech, right? And they don't have any way to communicate verbally or using language. And I would bring them, I specialized in iPads with technology that enabled them to access language. So they would press a button and it would say a word, right? Kind of like Stephen Hawking's device, but not with eye gaze, but with hands. You can touch it with your fingers, just like a game almost on an iPad. And so I would teach that to them, and I was specialized, certified in that. And so I started to realize, I could really use my gifts to help them inside therapy by accessing, well, what do they really want to say? Let me put that word forefront, because I really believe they're trying to communicate. They want to play in the ball pit. So let me make sure ball pit's really easy to see. So things like that, just always helpful. And, those kids we would develop relationships, and, parents would notice they're so happy to come to therapy. They love seeing you. I'm like, yeah, because they're understood. I work with them like that. So, using my gifts in that way was really fun and very rewarding. And if it's not something you can really talk about with your coworkers, right? I couldn't just go, hey, yeah, I'm totally using my psychic gifts to help, little Billy over there.
Yeah. Which I think, I mean, what you're saying is something that we need to start, fessing up on. We need to start because there's so much evidence for psychic functioning in human beings. And we're so early in the research of, maybe the kids that are autistic, maybe they're just overwhelmed with all the psychic information, and somebody like, tuning in and saying, okay, can you hear this? When you're sending it telepathically, do you just touch whatever you want, and you're sending it out telepathically, and they go ball pen or whatever, but I mean, it's sort of, me as a psychologist, it's where I wonder when and if we are going to embrace so much of the research that's out there,
Yeah, there's so much. And, stuttering is another great example. Fluency is another great example. I know in the UK, they might call it stammering, where people who would come to me with that as well. And I will never forget one of the kids I would have the pleasure of working with. The moment I met him, I knew he was extremely sensitive, extremely psychic, extremely empathic. And I knew it. I'm like, this is an old soul I'm working with right now. And he was completely shut down, depressed, anxious, going through physical pain as well. And so a lot of weird things going on in his life that to him were confusing. And I never had to talk to him about energy or any of that when I was with a session, but he came to me with very severe stammer, very severe on a scale, on a test. And then I worked with him a few weeks. We never worked on his speech, mind you, never. It was all energy. And I'm just talking to him. And by the end, nobody believed he had a stutter. The occupational therapist ended up working with him on other things like handwriting. She didn't believe me that he had come to me with a severe stutter because she couldn't even hear it anymore. So there's a lot of things going on in the physical body, in children, especially in adults, that are energetic in nature. And that if you have somebody working with you that understands energy, this should be a part of healthcare, in my opinion, because look at the results you can achieve without doing all these other tests or these other assignments or these other drills, right? And so I'll never forget that kid, because oh my gosh, he was really one of the biggest evidences I had of this is not doesn't have to be as complicated as we make it out to be.
I think, what's really interesting is I think what you're saying about not working on the actual presenting problem, if you know what I mean, like you weren't working on the presenting stutter, but you were working on the thing, you're working more, supporting his energy, building his energy
on an emotional level, Yeah, it was like he needed confirmation for some things. He also needed the ability to communicate openly without being judged. He needed the ability to be heard and for somebody to wait and listen. Not correcting him, not drilling him, not looking at him if he did mess up a word. As soon as he had that kind of relationship and that kind of acceptance, it was easy after that.
It so often happens that when we're working on the right spot, the things that apparently are the presenting problems, they just fall away. Even though we didn't address them. I didn't
have to. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would have. I totally would have. I had all the skills to do it. I was like, but I was just following my intuition. I'm like, no, I'm not going to be drilling him. I'm going to just listen. And that was the energetic kind of work that's going on behind the scenes. At the time, I wasn't very aware what I was doing. Now looking back, I can see I was probably communicating with their higher selves when I was working with the kids, and then we would work kind of together. But yeah, so I think that there's so much untapped we could really help kids and adults with on a health level, or, with speech and language too, that we're just not even looking at right now in the scientific communities, which I also am very well versed in the scientific communities from all the research I did in college.
Sure.
Yeah.
And so do you, just curious, do you still work with these kind of kids at the moment or not really?
So no, I don't work with the kids, interestingly, but here, let me share this. I work with speech language pathologists to this day. a lot of my clients end up being speech language pathologists, and they're very similar to me, where they have very beautiful gifts, and we work on those. And some of them are still practicing and running speech therapy businesses. So I never stopped helping those communities. It's just I work in a different way now, for sure.
Right. So you're helping them to connect more energetically, I imagine then.
Yes, I do. Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's so cool. That's great.
Yeah.
I think, again, it's I personally discover energy work is not to make a change in society. It's to support the individuals who are having experiences and to give them that, in a way, validation, that they're not crazy. I mean, some of them might be a bit crazy, but the energy, like feeling the energy or that stuff is real. That really exists. And much like there's optical illusions, visually, there's optical illusions energetically, there's mind illusions. That's something I'm fascinated in. Yeah, I mean, you don't throw the baby out with the bathwater, as it were. I'm curious about the mediumship. So that's come in.
Yes.
I mean, what was the experience? I mean, like talking to dead people? Like, why?
Yeah. I missed my grandma, so I wanted to reach out to her, and I had hired other psychics to channel her. And so I one time I was like, you know what, if they can do it, I bet I can do it. I've seen ghosts before, I'm like, I can do this. And so I
your confidence.
challenged myself.
It's so determined. It's like, you can do it. I can do it.
I can do it. And so I'm like, I'm going to do it. So I talked to grandma, grandma and I always get our nails done together when she was alive. So she'd buy them for me. She said, Kacy, go get your nails done. I'm like, okay, I don't know if a ghost is really talking to me right now, but I'm going to go try. Cause she told me, Richard, she's like, I'm going to pay for it if you get them done. I'm like, how is a dead person going to pay for me to get my nails done? I'm curious. So of course I have to go and get my nails done. And I'm like, there wasn't $100 bill on the pavement. There wasn't, he rang me up. I paid with my debit card. I'm like, okay, this isn't going out the way we expected, grandma, but I trust you. I got my nails done regardless. So I remember like a week later, it was my husband's birthday, and my grandpa handed him her husband, handed him a card, and inside the card were $200 bills. And he said, oh yeah, I thought we were also giving gifts to Kacy today. He's like, for some reason, I'm like, grandpa, my birthday is not till November. It's August. Like, it's not anywhere near my birthday. He's like, we'll just keep it. I'm like, okay, $100 for me. Yay.
I would say you nailed it.
Yes, I didn't even. So what, Richard, the funny part is I didn't even make the connection at that moment. I did not even realize until my mom, I told her the story. My mom was like, you realize that was Graham, like giving you the $100, right? I'm like, oh my gosh, you are so right. So perfect person to give me the money. He had no idea why he was giving it to me. And I was like, I believe.
Yes, it's well, we were talking before we came on air, we're talking about some signs that you get. Have you had people also, like when they've come and you said there's going to be a sign coming, like from this departed?
Yes.
Obviously I want you to respect people's anonymity, but within that boundary, do you have any good stories where you can sort of say, this person came and I was like, I said, expect one of these?
Yeah, I have so many stories. I'm trying to pick a really fun one. And the one that's coming to mind, she likes me to tell her story because she's passed on, but she likes the story about me and her. So one morning I was open to spirit, and I was open to them coming. And I was actually kind of looking for somebody, one of my clients' family members who passed on. She had never had contact with her before. And I was like really trying to open up a little bit during the day to see if I could receive a message from her. Well, this other woman came through. She told me she was in her 30s. She had long brown hair. She had had a double mastectomy. And I said, you need to give me some really specific details so that person knows that I'm really communicating with the right person. And she said, okay, I called my dog Porky and spaghetti dinners. I'm like, spaghetti dinners, called your dog Perky, double mastectomy, in your 30s, long brown hair. I think I could find out, right? That's a lot of detailed information. But I
Yeah.
go to my client, she's like, no, that's not mine. And I'm like, okay. So I don't know who this woman is yet, but I'm open to finding out. So a few weeks later, I would say about 2 to 3 weeks later, I sit down to dinner with a girlfriend of mine. It might have actually been a month later. We're having dinner and she's talking about a family friend and how he lost his wife and how sad he is and how hard of a time he's had since she's passed. And I said, do you have a picture of her? And she said, yes. And I'm like, by chance, did she have a double mastectomy? She's like, yes. I'm like, does she have like a dog that she would call Porky? She's like, yes. And I said, and then can you explain to me what the spaghetti dinners mean? Because she's like, she used to feed her dog spaghetti. And I'm like, all right. So she showed me a picture and it was definitely the woman I'd seen. And I said, you know, she really wants to talk to her husband. She had mentioned to me and when she met that she was very worried about her husband and her baby. I thought it was a human baby, but it turns out to be the dog. And that now lives with like her mother or something. And so
Porky.
yeah, Porky. Yeah. And so it was just like, you know, she really had a message and I got to deliver it to somebody who was very open, right? So my friend, she has medium gifts as well. So it wasn't a weird exchange where I'm just landing all this stuff on her and she doesn't believe. She's had her own experiences. So what a beautiful way for that woman to get her message through. I thought that was a really cool story.
I think so. I mean, joking apart, there's, anybody who's been bereaved, who's lost somebody, getting some really good, like nailed it evidence. And for me, it's like, whether it's psychic or whatever, it's still, it can be like life-changing for that person and dealing with their grief.
Yes.
And I've seen my share, and I've been very lucky to receive, my share as well. So just like, wow, that was amazing. And I'm curious because you do so much. I'm curious to try and cover all of the things you do. And one of the things you're doing is this. Is it what do you call it? Like a money group or manifestation group? I'm a little bit skeptical about a lot of manifestation. I think a lot of it is, I say this, and I'm going to believe that I'm going to get this, and then I'm going to get it. I think it's a little bit more to it than that. So tell us all about that. Well, what do I have to do today, or what do our listeners, probably more useful, our listeners, what would you? Well, you could tell us how you started, and then you could tell us like, okay, so how are we going to become mega rich?
Yeah, I love this. So the first thing I did, my group is called High Vibe Money Manifestation. If any listeners want to join, I would love to have you.
That's on Facebook, is it? High Vibe Money Manifestation. Okay, we'll put a link for that. You send me that in a chat, and I will put a link into that in the show notes.
Awesome. And so what happened was one day I was talking to my guides, because that's just something that I do. And I went through a meditation and I could tell the meditation was like manifestation. I could feel the energy coming into my field. So it was like coming from out and coming toward me. This has happened a few times, but this was a lot of energy and I could feel it. And I was like, okay, I don't know what this is, but we'll see what happens. And then that same week I manifested about $10,000 USD. Not from it working. So everything outside work was like gifts, $5,000. Like my husband was getting unemployment checks. He got a huge one. It was just kind of like weird things. And then I was like, well, this worked. Let me do this in my Facebook group. So I go to my Facebook group and I do it. And then people started commenting over the next 35, 40 days that they were manifesting $20,000, $90,000. Somebody got $100,000. So just crazy deals, like tax returns. It was weird business deals that had been plateaued, but then all of a sudden really took off. There were investments that were jumping that hadn't moved for 15 years. And all of a sudden we're making a crap ton of money. So those kinds of weird ways people started getting results. I started to add it up. And it turned out to be in 35 days, $1.7 million between anybody who reported to me what they had manifested during that time.
And how many people is that in the
about
group?
200, but
Wow,
not everybody did the meditation.
Phenomenal still. That's phenomenal.
Yeah. So then I was like, this isn't fake. Okay. So I was like, there's something to it.
Sometimes some are fake.
Sometimes it doesn't work, right?
Sometimes I say these things.
Glad I have. Okay, God, I'm listening. And so but there were still people, Richard, that didn't manifest, right? There's always those cases. So they'll do the meditation like 5 times. They're like, Kacy, I still haven't gotten a client. Kacy, I still haven't gotten money. Kacy, I'll get free donuts, but where's my money? I'm like, okay,
that's a good one for Homer Simpson. That's about it.
Yeah, right. And
donuts.
so, I'm like, good diabetes, great. No, but I started to really get kind of obsessed in a good way, like about, okay, how can I help people that are really blocked to manifesting? There's obviously something subconscious energetically going on where they resist receiving. And so I did end up meeting other energy workers who work with the subconscious. And I was like, this is it. I'm like, this is like how I can help anybody. Because then if you clear out your subconscious, you also need to get into alignment in a way to receive money. So I often tell people there needs to be a way. It's going to do the effort of least resistance. So if your business is out of alignment, it won't come in through your business. It'll come in through your husband getting a raise. If there's, you know what I mean? So it's just a matter of understanding that there are subconscious blocks as well that need to be cleared. And sometimes a meditation won't be able to clear all that. So there is like shadow work or subconscious releasing that needs to be done. Sometimes if you're not seeing results with the meditation or other energetic ways, it's kind of like you have to clear it out to be able to receive. I always say it's kind of like a sink full of dirty dishes. So like, this is a spirit given analogy or metaphor. So spirit showed me like a lot of people's energy is kind of like a sink full of dirty dishes. And you have to clear out the sink in order to receive the love and the abundance, like the water to fill up the sink. Otherwise you can't fill up as much water because there's so much crap in this dirty sink.
Right.
So you have to wash each plate and clean it off. And every plate, every dish is different. You have to, like, every size, and it can be from other people putting their dirty dishes in there, can be from you years ago. This dirty dish that's in there for 20 years. One is just from today. You got to go in and clean it out. And then there's a vessel that can be filled. So kind of manifestation is kind of like that. You have to be able to have an open vessel to receive in order to actually receive the money of the abundance. It doesn't have to be money either. I never target my meditations specifically on money. A lot of times it's abundance. And the frequency to manifest money is really divine love. That's a really great place to be in, because then you're going to attract what's for you, what's good for you for your highest good. So it's really just raising your frequency to a place where we attract what's really good for us and what we need. So I don't like to use the word need, but
yeah, I mean, it sounds great. What I love about it is your analogy of the dirty dishes and how somebody, maybe you've lost the way to the sink. Yeah, you just seem to be washing up things in the toilet. Yeah, or whatever. Like you just lost a bit your orientation. Like that is a dish that you keep on. It's a dirty dish that you keep on eating from. Yeah, you need to wash it.
Yes, wash it out.
It's a great analogy. I love it. And I've done the demos where I get somebody up and I say, okay, let's work on somebody with pain, and we clear the pain. And I said, now I didn't touch you, I didn't do anything, just worked on the energy. We can do that. Was just because an energy was blocked. Now it's the same for money, and money in a way is more energetic than anything else. Like it's totally conceptual, especially nowadays where it's all electronic. It's totally a flow of energy.
Yes.
So I suppose there's part of me that plays the devil's advocate, but I totally believe that, you know, especially, you know, with that approach, that you know, you can help people to manifest all kinds of stuff. Tell us. So give us some examples of some weird, freaky stuff that's happened when you've been helping people with their dishes.
Okay. Yeah, with their dishes. Yeah. One of my clients, you know, she started a new business, and she did have $100,000 launch the first month after doing my meditation. Then she booked a few sessions with me because this actually, Kacy, this works, so I need to meet you. And then
Right.
a few months later, we meet again, and she's like, "Yeah, I'm going to launch in a few days. I would love to meet with you and clear out anything that needs to be cleared." So I'd meet with her. She had a 7-figure launch, and now she's going into her next launch. And I just saw her. I did some healing work with her, and now I'm excited to see what her next launch is. And that's somebody that her business was nothing last year in 2020. This is all 2021. So to say she has a product-based business, to say that, you know, she really grew this thing this whole year, all, you know, all on her own. Like, it was just amazing. She has a team now, and investors and everything. But yeah, so you can really like use this to manifest. And she was just, it's, you know, for her, it's divine timing. She was aligned with it. It was like her soul was happy to do what she was doing. And I didn't have to help her with anything business. I literally just energetically supported her. That's probably one of the best stories I have at this moment. But I also
Can
have
you remember
clients
what it like? I mean, can you talk? Maybe you shouldn't talk about them, but have you had like, you pulled out like, you know, imps and, you know, gremlins from people's energy, or have you had like some really weird stuff where you've like an alien's appeared? Or, I mean, of course, there's things which are like, you know, like, I don't know, beliefs, you know, that aren't serving and so on. But if you had like stuff where you go, wow, I never expected that. You can't make this stuff up, you know?
Yeah. I was one of my friends is a medium, and she's been doing some readings, and I was scheduling a market research call with her. She agreed to help me with some market research, and all of a sudden her ancestors, it was the night of the full moon, her ancestors appear at the foot of my bed, and they're just talking away. I'm like, what is it, you guys? They're talking in Spanish. They're from Mexico from many years ago. And I'm telling her in the DMs, I'm like, because I'm in direct message with her, I'm like, so they're here. They are saying something about a curse. And they want me to clear it for you. And it's not like, I don't want to say curse, like, it's not like people say, so don't get all, you know what I mean? That's just the word they were using. It wasn't necessarily a real, like, somebody intentionally set a curse on this family. I'm not saying that. I actually have no idea really how it got there, but it did show itself, and they had a name for it. They called it sordillo. And I was like, what the heck is this? I looked it up, and it actually means like death. And I put it together, and it really means to them, the way they named it is, it makes you deaf to the voice of God. And so she had this family that had gone through all these things. They had placed hits on her. They were murderers. They were like into drug dealing. I got bad stuff.
Oh, wow.
And she's like, this makes a lot of sense, Kacy. I'm like, yeah, let's clear this for you. So her guides ended up giving her something to do on our call. And then I also went, they told me later it was the 8th dimension, where I went into the 8th dimension, and I took it out of her heart space, this black gooey thing. And I actually found a picture of it on Google that looked a lot like it. And I sent a picture to her, and she's like, I've seen that in a dream. And so I knew I was dealing with something. And it wasn't hard though. You know, I went in the 8th dimension. Everything's pretty easy when you heal. So I was able to take it out, and just, I told God, like, okay, angels, God, do what you must. Here it is. And I brought it into the light. Like, it was sitting in my hand, and I just like shoved it into the light of God, and it disappeared.
You shoved it. Don't take that. It's on it. I love shove. I shoved it into the light. Like,
and I told her, I was like, you'll be able to hear God now, so that'll help you in your business as a psychic medium.
Oh my God, that's amazing. I'm having a session with you. I've got to. That's amazing. I love it. That touches me so much. That's really great. Oh, look, dear, we've been chatting, and I don't know where the time's gone, but it's been fantastic. Everybody, you know, you're on Facebook. How do people connect with you?
I'm on Instagram as well. So Facebook, my group, the High Vibe Money Manifestation. And then on Instagram, I'm at Kacy.Barron. That's KACY.BARRON. I'm happy to reach people there. And if you're interested, I also have a website, www.kacbarron.com.
Wonderful. Well, look, we'll be posting on Discover Energy work on the website, on the podcast, on our page. And I think, you know, we can even do a little, maybe do a Facebook Live talking about your manifestation. That sounds really fun. And it's been really, really good fun talking to you. You've got such a lovely, happy, you know, high vibe. It's just great.
Thank you, Richard. Thanks for having me. It's been fun.